and then we're going to get used to these meat alternatives. When a guy like that says that, I'm like, are you making money because of this? Like, why are you saying that? And by the way, you look like shit.
Public, and whether it's seed oils, high sugar, or just the chemicals that are banned in so many other countries, we give it to our children. The diet that our children are given is absolutely horrendous.
Sugar is the cheap one. Sugar is the addictive one, although alcohol is too. But sugar's the one we give to children and call it love.
Welcome to the first ever episode of the Poison Apple Podcast. I am the host, P. Brain Parrish, here with the brains behind the operation, my beautiful wife, Michaela. We're going to talk about our journey, basically how we got to where we are today, and we're going to talk about all the topics, was it like 60 topics that we're hopefully going to eventually get to. So, How you doing, waifu?
Doing great.
Cat's already messing with stuff.
Yes, they're in the tunnel.
30 seconds in.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But
All right,
yeah,
so let's...
I just want to make people aware that they're being poisoned. And hopefully, if anything, like even if this is just a rant or just me trying to explain to everybody, like, you don't have to do it all, you just have to start somewhere, then that's enough for me.
Cool.
But,
So
yeah.
I thought we would get started with like where we were before we even got into any of this, you know? So I'd say probably about a year, maybe a year and a half, 2-3 years ago. How long ago do you think it was when we first started to actually give a shit about what we ate? Because for a long time, we would just eat awfully.
I feel like it was around, it's had to be at least like 2019 or 2018, because I remember once the pandemic hit and then it was like you had a limit on how much meat you could purchase. That's when it started to get difficult because you weren't able to buy like steaks and ribs and shit. They'd be like limit 2 per person. So like doing keto during that time was difficult, which is almost like counterproductive because like they don't want you to be able to buy the healthier foods in quantity. But if you want 20 boxes of macaroni and cheese, go ahead and throw them in.
McDonald's cheeseburgers, right?
Yeah, they never ran out of those. No.
Nah, not big corporations. Never.
But yeah, I think we dabbled in it beforehand and at least had like some success with it. So we knew it was at least possible, but we weren't really that, we didn't follow it for too long. We did it for like 6 months and then around the holidays fall off and then pick it back up and fall back off. But for this time, it feels like more of a lifestyle change than it does a diet, because when you think of diets, it just feels like a punishment and reward system, whereas a lifestyle change is like something you want to do to better yourself in the long run.
Yeah, in my case with it before, when, because it was like keto, we were like, oh, we're gonna do keto and it's so cool, and like it was really restrictive, but it was more like I want to lose weight for the sake of losing weight. That's how I felt back then, like the first time. And this time it's like I don't really give a shit. I have lost a lot of weight this time for sure, but like
Yeah.
it's more about not wanting to get diabetes, not wanting to literally poison myself, and just being more healthy. You know what I mean? That's what it's always been about for me. Like just eating sludge and shit. It's not about it anymore.
Yeah. I think the first times that we started this, I was more vain than I was now. So it was just like, I just want to be skinny and I just want to fit into different stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's more of like, I want to be able to go up and down the stairs without running out of breath, or I want to be able to like do things and go places and not be restricted by like just my health in general. And then also it's just like watching the health issues that come up with like our parents or our family. It's just, if you can do something to prevent it, then why not? So
Yeah, my
pretty
grandpa
much what it
Parrish
comes down to.
getting diabetes shots in his stomach every day, man. I can't do that. That's not even in the cards for me, you know? So it's like I really have to do something. I can't just eat sugar and junk every day. Like it has to change. I have to change it. So that's
Well,
where
and
I'm at.
that's like the crazy thing is just that most people don't want to acknowledge that sugar is a problem. When you do tell them that like sugar is a problem, they all know. Like everybody knows that it's like, yeah, but it tastes good, or yeah, but I don't really need to lose weight, or I'm happy the way I am type of thing. But it's cool. But like in 20 years, like after eating sugar every day, all day, it adds up. And that's like the crazy thing when you're on keto or just like a low carb or low sugar diet is like once you start seeing the amount of sugar that's like in everyday shit that you would normally eat and drink without even thinking about it, it's just like an insane amount. And your body is not meant to process all of that. So it's got to go somewhere. And that's when it starts going to like your brain, your heart, your different organs. And that's when it becomes the health issues that eventually will affect you.
Like liver, right? The liver,
Yeah, liver and everything.
kidney, yeah. Because that's what
That's the
Grandpa
thing.
Parrish ended up with was a liver and kidney failure. So it's crazy.
Well, yeah, and people will say like it's cheaper to eat junk food and stuff, but honestly, like it might be cheaper now, but in the long run, when you have diabetes and you have to go to dialysis and you have to go to doctor's appointments, you have to be put on insulin and all this other medication, like you'll be paying for it later.
And
So
honestly, you could go buy carrots and hot dogs, and you know what I mean.
yeah,
You
it's
could
cheap.
eat cheap. Yeah, it's
hmm
not.
Yeah.
And when we were eating unhealthy, it was more expensive because we would just be like, "Oh, we're gonna eat McDonald's breakfast, and we're gonna get Culver's for lunch, and then we're gonna get Taco Bell for dinner." It was horrible. Like we
Yeah,
were
it was
literally
literally
killing
like,
ourselves. Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy.
And it's just like you're still spending like $20-$30 for every meal. And if you're eating, fast food or convenience food like 2 or 3 times a day, like that shit adds up quickly. And honestly, it's like now it's so much more cheaper. And I go grocery shopping, it lasts like a week and a half. And it's all like fresh foods and nothing that's going to be like poisoning you. So
Just whole
it's a lot
foods. It's
different.
not even about like, because you can have like what we're doing basically. Like we can have some sugar that's in like fruit and stuff like that, but
Yeah. It's
we're just
more
not
of like a
eating added
natural,
sugar.
holistic. Yeah.
I don't think keto
Mhm.
is as good as it's all cracked up to be, honestly. Like it is good compared to like what people normally eat, but like going through keto and eating keto like we did and now doing this like whole kind of food thing, there's so much more variety this way. It's just so much better, man.
There's variety and it just feels like wholesome. It just
I've
feels like this is how food is meant to be eaten
and
and
I've lost more
how it
weight
would
this
occur.
time than I did on keto. I would say about the same amount
Yeah.
of time. I mean, I'm not even
Yep.
I'll put it out there. And my heaviest I ever was 324 pounds. That's crazy, I know. And I'm down to 260 or less. I haven't weighed myself in like a month, but it's crazy to lose that much weight. And it's not like I was trying to lose weight. I just wanted to not eat poison food anymore, not
Yeah.
eat sugar,
Yeah.
not eat preserved food, not eat seed oils. I'm just trying to get away
Well,
from
that,
all that.
and it's like, I remember like anytime we would eat like a really like any sort of fast food, you would just feel like shit afterwards. Like you just
So
feel like
full.
crap. Like you got the little bit of satisfaction from eating all the sugar and shit,
The
but like
dopamine hit.
you just feel full, you feel just like "Ugh," and it sucks. And I never feel like that eating like any of the things I eat now unless it's like a potato or something. But other than that, like
And even
everything
the
just feels
potatoes we eat aren't too bad in
no.
moderation, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing is like everything in moderation is fine. Like I'm not saying you could never eat a cupcake again, but it's just like the difference between going to Walmart and getting a pack of sugar cookies every time you're there or getting like a cake for your birthday is completely different. Like,
Agreed. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot.
And even
But
with our
then,
like, oh sorry, I was gonna say like with our Sabbats and our birthdays and stuff, it's like you can still make stuff that
yeah,
isn't so
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Less
and
sugar or no sugar. You
the
could use honey or brown sugar or
yeah,
whatever.
and I actually heard too that using the honey that's local to you, like a actual local honey that's made within like your county, is better for you to have as well because it has the allergens that are normally in that area, so it actually helps you build up like a tolerance to
We
them.
should go to that place that is by where I work at. You know what I'm talking about. I want to
Yeah.
dox us or
So
anything on our first
yeah.
pilot episode, but
Oh my god.
I almost said the city name.
Yeah, but no, that's something, and that's the thing is like eating locally is just supposed to be like better for you too. And honestly, it's just like fuck. Walmart, fuck, I mean, even Meijer, fuck all these big ass chain stores, because it's just like there are plenty of different options available for like locally sourced meat, or just like people who want to start just like a small community, even if it's just like chickens and shit. Like, it's so much better to support those types of people than it is for like a big company that doesn't have your best interest and couldn't care less. So,
For sure.
yeah.
So
And
you
not
want to
even,
any more on our backstory, or you want to move on to the next one, or
I mean, like, also
next
on our backstory, it's
subject?
not like we are living in the lap of luxury, but we fucking make it work, because it's like when something is this important to you, I always used to be like, well, we don't have the money for that. I don't have the time for all of that. And it's just like, I was thinking of it too. It's just like, I always would make excuses to like, I want to work out, but I don't have the time. And that's like, at least with changing our diet was something I knew that it was within my control and within my time restraints. So it's just like, I knew that I could at least do that part. But other than that, I guess the only thing too that like had changed would be like, just other than the way that we thought about food, is also like where our food was coming from, and then also like what we could do to produce our own food. So we started the
Oh, yeah,
little
true.
garden oasis, started raising quail in the backyard just because chickens were a little bit out of the question. So quail were definitely the best thing that we did. And then collecting our rainwater and stuff. But yeah, I want
Yeah,
a
for
big
sure.
garden.
And we're moving soon. We're gonna have a way bigger garden when we move, more room for our quail, and everything is gonna be pretty cool. That's why it's so echoey where you are. All the boxes and stuff
Oh, is
behind
it?
you. It's a little echoey,
Yeah,
yeah,
all
and
the
you can definitely
boxes,
see
and
all the
one of them,
boxes.
all the tower boxes. I'm like, maybe I'll just sit in front of the boxes.
It's our cat's
And
playground.
somebody's chewing on one.
Mitty.
Yeah. One of them is, I don't know.
Mm.
But yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of our backstory. You know, we're in this journey now, and I feel like it is kind of forever at this point. I don't know if I could ever go back to eating the poison, especially when you think of it as like government poison. You know what? Sorry.
But when you think of it, if it's just like when you have a food item and you go to the store, and it's like you worked hard, you paid your taxes. Now you're gonna go to the store and buy something. Well, I'm just saying you've already
It's just
given
funny.
your fucking money
Such
to
a
people that are
libertarian.
shitty. I'm just saying,
I
you
know.
give your fucking money to shitty people already, and you go and you're like, all right, I want some nutrients for my body, some sustenance for my soul. Like, let's, and then you pick up I don't even fucking know what, a pack of fucking Oreos, and you're just like, I deserve this after a long day's work. And you pay your fucking money, and you just paid for poison. Like, that's all you fucking did. You just paid to be poisoned. And I don't, like, I understand, like, maybe I shouldn't call it like poison, but that's pretty much what it fucking is. Like, you're nibbling on some shit, telling everybody else how great it is, and eventually that's the shit that's gonna bite you in the ass. Like, that is what it is. Like, a lot of your food has chemicals that were never meant to be for food, that were fucking produced in a lab, that were made because they're cheaper than the natural thing. Like, when you buy something, you are just a means to an end. The company does not care about you as a consumer. They're selling shit off the shelves, and that is it. They could care less what is in the food that they're giving you. They just want your money. So it's just like they're hoping that enough people are ignorant and wouldn't care about what's on the ingredient list, or care about how much sugar or what went into it, or even just the process of it, or the fucking oils that they put into it. They don't care. And
What
you
would
don't
you
care because you buy it, obviously.
What would you say to people who would say like, well, what about the FDA and all these other people who are supposed to make
Those are
sure that the
crooked ass
food is
companies too. Like, they're crooked as fuck.
they can
You
be
could
paid
pay
off.
them
That's it.
money. Yeah, you pay them money, they look the other way.
Why'd Michelle Obama
So
quit going after sugar when she was first lady? Why did it change to exercise all of a sudden? I don't know. Big Sugar
yeah,
probably
because
came
they
and
were
dropped
just
a
like, no,
fat check.
anytime that you go after sugar, you'll be met with some resistance. Any study that's been published about sugar, they try to bury or tell you that it's fat. And that's the thing, is like, sugar really didn't start getting like big until the 1950s. But if you look at pictures from people before the 1950s, they weren't fat. They weren't eating the shit that we were. They're not eating preservatives and fucking all these different, they were just living off of like locally sourced, locally raised, what they could put on the table.
The
And
preservatives scare
sugar
me
was,
as much or more than sugar in my honestly.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's
Yeah,
just, it's crazy to think, but yeah, no, that's why it's just like I'm on an anti-sugar campaign, because it's like it started with sugar, and then they figured out that they could get away with that, and then they got away with everything else, and then started adding chemicals to your food, your dog's food, your kids' food, your water. So it's just like, if nobody's there to keep them in check, then the only thing that you can do to combat it is to not buy, pretty much don't buy anything that comes in a box. Don't buy anything that comes wrapped in plastic. When you can buy your vegetables and you can buy your meats and your grains, and we make our own bread here. We make our own like tea and all of our drinks and shit. We filter our water. Like, we do as much as we can to get as much as we can out of our food. So, yeah. And it's crazy because when you explain to people the shit that they're eating, they kind of know, but they don't want to change. And it's just like, you don't have to change. Just know, like, you're slowly killing. It's like almost like
they
with
kind of
just
know,
like
but they
cigarettes
don't
or like
know.
alcohol.
They don't know the
Yeah.
extent, though. They definitely don't know the
They don't
extent.
know the extent. That's what I mean. Like, they don't know that's literally
People don't even
in
read the
everything.
back of their stuff. They don't even read the back of it. They really don't.
Well, and that's the thing, is just like, if you were anybody who hasn't gone through 10 million rabbit holes, you wouldn't know what half of those chemicals were on the back of your ingredients.
Right.
And that's why it's like, anytime I pick up anything at the store, if it has more than like 10 ingredients, I'm not about it. Like, it's got to be whole things, no chemicals, like nothing in there. Because if not, like, for instance, we'll say if they added sugar to whatever item you're buying, they don't even have to list it as sugar. They can list it as dextrose, maltose, glucose, insulin. Like, there's a bunch of fake sugars, aspartame. Like, there's stuff where it's just like, it might be a chemical that in its one form you would know, but in 10 other forms you wouldn't know what it is. So that's the other way that food companies kind of skirt around these restrictions, is they'll just label it as something else. So,
Damn.
yeah. And then it's just like, not even sugar with the taste of the food and the preservatives to, keep the food. And that's the interesting thing, is some of the preservatives, it's just like, it's useful in a way, but it's also like keeps it from smelling rancid or keeps it from tasting rancid. So, like, the product itself could be bad, but there's something else in there to disguise it. So you wouldn't even fucking know. And then it's like, you got different dyes that try to make it look more appealing. Um, and then now it's like those dyes have been proven to cause different mental issues with kids. And then it's like those same dyes, same stuff, like I said, are in your kids' food and in your pets' food. It's literally everywhere.
How did it
So,
get this bad? Money? Is money really the root of all evil?
yeah,
Just
pretty
make
much.
the
I mean,
most
because
money with the least amount of
it's
work?
just like, there's a couple different, like, there is one administration, and I have to look up the name, that does actually go through, and their whole job is to make sure that the packaging is as honest as it can be. So it's just like, if you said like, these potato chips cure cancer, like, they're the ones that go in, and like, if you make certain claims about food, they have to like check it. Or if
They're the
you're
ones that
adding
got Red
in,
Bull. They're like, Red Bull doesn't really
yeah.
give you wings.
Oh my god. Well, it's just like, there's those kind of promises and then expectations, right? Well, that's just like another thing with like your food, is like the whole like tuna gate thing. And when they say that your food is supposed to be 100%, Alaskan cod, or this is supposed to be like wild caught tuna, and then you realize like they're just giving you shredded chicken and anchovy oil. Like, there's just a lot of food lies. And then there's also problems in there, like some of the topics I have on here as well are just like the way people saw food, like back in the day, and how people see food now. And it's just like different cultures and customs and shit that revolve around food. Like whether or not you want to think about, and I don't want to think about food this fucking much, but honestly, it's like you eat like at least 2 or 3 times a day. Like your body needs energy, your body needs these nutrients, your body like has to keep going. And your body is like its own ecosystem. It's got its own bacteria in there that are thriving and trying to create and survive. It's just like whether you want to think about it or not, like what you're putting into your body matters. And if you feel like crap, you could keep blaming it on X, Y, or Z, but until you realize that you're in control of like what you put in there and actually care about that, then I mean, like the world is your oyster. You'll never be able to look at food the same way again. Like honestly.
Yeah, I'm there for sure. I'm already there. Even like so on Christmas, this is a little quick story. My mom hands me those chips, right? And she's like, "Oh, look, these are keto chips. They're so good." And I look on the back, it's just like seed oil, seed oil, seed oil, 900 ingredients that I can't even read what the name is. Like, I'm gonna have to pass. Like, if you read the
Yeah.
back and you don't know what anything is, you should probably pass.
Well, and
That's
that's
crazy.
almost like with seed oils too, like go hand in hand with sugar. It's because it's like sugar creates these reactions in your body. And it's just like seed oils almost kind of amplify that. Like they cause inflammation in your body. So it's just like I said, a lot of diseases that the problem is a lot of diseases that could be cured by food are mostly doctors just recommending a medication, but never saying like, well, what did you eat this
Well,
morning?
that's where Big Pharma comes in because now Big Pharma's got to make their cut on your
Yeah.
misery too, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the thing with diabetes is eventually we'll get into is how like the recommended diet for diabetes patients is low fat. It's actually not low carb. So it's just like instead of and low fat tends to be more sugar because they have to add in sugar to substitute for the fat. So it's like you're kind of making it worse actually, but
Compounding the
you're
issue.
making them more money. So
Right. It's
but yeah.
crazy. So
And then
I
there's
want to talk
different
about
like
soy. That's one thing I want to talk about
yeah,
in this whole thing.
soy is
Not
gonna
right
be its
now, but
whole
you know what I
thing.
mean. Yeah.
Yep. Um man, we've got
Preservatives and soy are my two most ones I want to talk about. Obviously
you know
sugar,
what I
but
also realized is I will never be able like go to a buffet again ever.
never,
Like,
never.
oh,
Yeah.
like I don't even want to be that person, but even like a salad buffet, like they will find ways like there's going to be sugar in your ranch dressing and there's going to be sugar coating your like sunflower seeds and there's going to be like maple flavored bacon. Like you can
MSG,
easily,
they're all over those
yeah, you can
buffets.
easily
MSG.
make healthy foods unhealthy just by what you add to them.
MSG is so
And
gross.
then we've got like microplastics on here we'll talk about eventually.
Fluoride probably.
Yeah, fluoride for sure. I mean, like that's the thing too. It's just like,
You said dyes. Dyes. We're gonna talk about dyes for sure.
well, dyes, and it's just like
Okay.
how sugar can be linked. Okay, sugar is it's like the whole causation and correlation thing, but they have found correlation between sugar and Alzheimer's. There's a big correlation between when sugar became a thing and tooth decay became a thing, and that's
I
the whole thing they
mean,
kicked out fluoride.
I think we can definitely safely say that sugar is causing tooth decay, but I don't know, maybe
Well,
not.
yeah, but I mean, like you just start to see it like a lot, and then the dentist would go through and drill your little cavity, and then here's a sucker for you on the way out.
Right.
Like,
Oh, that's
or don't
actually
forget
awful.
to rinse with your fluoride water. So it's
Right.
just like I don't know. They're just as bad as like big pharma, in my opinion,
Oh, for sure.
because sometimes it's just like, well, we're just gonna tear them all out and give you fake teeth. So I mean, I guess that might be a solution because then you can't fucking rot them, but still.
But it's just like, I don't know. That kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, you're gonna rip out your teeth, put new teeth in, and you're just gonna go back to doing if that's doing that to your teeth and your mouth, what do you think it's doing to the inside of your body? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's
Yep.
crazy to me.
It is a lot.
Yeah, I want to
And
talk
then it's
about
also like
sorry, go ahead.
you've got like how different world events kind of affect the food.
World War
Like with
II.
World War II, how that pretty much kicked off like our different food preservation and adding stuff to the food to make it last longer so we could send it places. Then you got
Sucks.
then different food inventions. So I dove into that microwave thing where it's just like things are supposed to help you cook your food, and really it's just like, well, at first they were cooking people with radiation, but whatever.
And then they
Well,
found a way to
hamster.
cook your food with it. Crazy.
And it's just like, it just is weird to think that like today we have a lot of like abundance. You have varieties of everything, and everything is just at your disposal. You don't have to go pick it or plant it or you could just go to the store and get whatever your heart's desire is. And like to a degree, that's also a detriment because after a while, it's just like, this is not how, in my opinion, it's just not how we're supposed to live, just as human beings. Like if you go back hundreds of years, it's like, I get that it was pretty simple. You got fire and food, but like they
Water.
thrived, they survived, and they didn't die from, like they say now, it's like all of our diseases are diseases that are caused by food and not viruses. So we're dying more from diseases from the food and not viruses that would normally kill people from like infections and shit. So
Yeah, because
that's
Big Pharma has it all set up. They've got it set up to where it's like if you need immediate, like if you need help right now, emergency help, they will get you back to life and back up and kicking. But then if it's like now we're just going to give you a bunch of pills that will keep you sick forever, they'll keep you alive, but you're just going to stay sick forever. You're going to keep coming back
yeah,
to us, and you're going to keep getting money from us, and you can go keep eating that same shitty diet that got you in this exact position that you're in too.
yeah.
But hey, at least you'll still be alive, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until
Yep.
they can't anymore. But yeah. They don't want you to
Yeah,
die.
and
They want to make more money off you.
yeah, well, and that's like part of the thing is like when you think about like early 1900s with your food being like the shit you raised on your farm, the government had no hand in it. Like you just have cows, chickens, goats, pigs, whatever. You'd plant your crops, you'd preserve to get through the fall and the winter. And I'm not saying you're going into ultimate like pilgrim survival mode, but like you'd still have a general store, you'd still have
Right.
stuff that you could get from your neighbors. But I feel like once people started relying on the government to ship and store and regulate all their food is when they became fucked. And it's just
Well,
like,
corporations did a lot of the shipping and storing.
yeah.
The
But I mean, like,
government has
they're all
definitely got their hands in the regulation market,
hand
yeah.
in hand. Yeah,
But once it
regulation of
gets
it.
so
And,
big to where corporations can have, like, you know what I mean? If
right.
corporations are so big that they can ship it and preserve it and sell it all over the world and do all that shit, you almost need to like keep them in check somehow, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like the government's the one keeping it. They're so damn corrupt at this point. Like it's just
Well, that and like during the two different world wars, is they had the power to be like, hey, we need this to send over there. So you're going to have to figure something else
they
out.
did the same thing with COVID too. I remember.
Yeah. So it's
Maybe
just,
not with food, but with other shit. You know, we need these supplies to make masks and
yeah.
PPE or whatever. So screw you, pretty
Yes.
much. Yeah, I remember
You
that.
can have whatever's left, basically. So
Emergency
that's like the
orders
other
or
thing.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there is a point too where once we figured out like soybeans and corn were able to create like all this like oil and all this other shit, pretty much like the government went to different farms and said, hey, if you stop planting those peas over there and start planting the shit we want you to grow, we'll give you some extra money and make sure you stay in business. So I mean, like, that's the way that I see the government getting involved too, is just trying to give these farmers who would normally be doing their own thing and happy big, or we're going to sell some land next to you and they'll do it instead.
Um,
So,
you should write down in your notes how the New Deal affected food, because I know for sure there was a point where FDR like had them slaughtering their animals and not harvesting their crops and giving them money for them like they did to increase
well, yeah,
the supply or the demand. The demand needed to be increased basically. So what he wanted to do is just get rid of a bunch of food so people would be demanding of it and it would jumpstart the economy to have more money basically.
which is
Isn't
also
that crazy? Something like that. We'll have to dive deep into it to
well,
really get
yeah,
into it, but I want to look into that. So yeah, put that in your notes.
right. No, I definitely agree. And then that's like how during COVID when they said that they had to just
Pull all those chickens because there was no one to.
all the chickens or like dump out a bunch of milk just because they didn't have anywhere to put it, anywhere to store it, anybody at the plants to process it. And it's just like we always hear like you could end world hunger with blah blah blah. It's just like, yeah, but like we in America waste so much. And that's part of like the issue too, is like we have this like black hole of stomachs that's like just never fulfilled with anything. It's always, and there's like a whole culture of food of just driving it to the extreme. Like it's, and that's why we have like, here's like a 10-foot round pizza and here's like a giant apple pie the size of a truck. Like we just are obsessed with the biggest, the most. And I feel like as a nation, we definitely fucking reflect that most of the time.
Yeah, lately.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, but yeah, so that should be all of our topics that we got going on, I think. And it's going to be a lot. And hopefully, at least when we do the deep dive, people will at least get an idea of where we're coming from. Because, like, I don't want to be one of those alarmists. Like I said, I'm not trying to be one of those, like, your food is poison and running into the grocery stores and slapping shit out of people's hands. Like, they're trying to poison you.
The
because that's
female
how I
food
feel.
version of Alex Jones.
Alex,
Stop
I
eating that
fucking would
poison.
though, seriously.
Snack.
She's got a cart full of poison. She's gonna kill her kids. What?
Stop
But
it.
seriously, and that's the thing. It's just like it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And like I feel bad because you know you'll have your friend or your family come to you and be like, "Hey, I got you this," or "Hey, you want to go out for this food or that food?" And that's the thing is like food is so social. So like when we see one person that's like, "What do you mean you don't eat that?" It's just like it feels odd because you have to kind of like explain yourself every time and then they look at you like you're even crazier. And I just want to be like, man, ask your great great grandma what she fucking ate. She would probably be looking at me like I was saying. She'd be looking at you like you're crazy for eating this artificial fucking shit. It's just like those fucking people in Wall-E where it's just like you're just gonna be slurping fucking shit through a tube and just happy with it. And like I'm not happy with it.
Not me.
So
That's crazy.
I wish more people could wake up to it, and I wish more people knew that putting their money towards this stuff only enables it more. So it's just like I'm just saying pretty much F you to all big food corporations, all big people who profit from poisoning us
The
every day.
masses. Yeah.
And that's why I said they do it willingly. Like you pay for the stuff and you're absolutely complicit and absolutely compliant.
Yeah,
and
you pick it off
you're
the
okay
shelves.
with
You
it.
can read the back of the ingredients. You know what you're taking. You know it, and like what was that orange juice? What was it called? Simply
Oh,
orange juice. They just lie, so
yeah,
you
where
can't
it's
just get screwed.
yes,
Like, but yeah.
yeah. So that's it's just a lot. And it's like in every corner too, like in every corner. And that's I mean, like even with us just eating meat and vegetables, you have to make sure that you're getting like grass fed because they'll literally feed corn and soy and plastic and whatever garbage to the animals, whatever cheap shit they can get. That's
You're
what they're
just
going to
eating
get.
whatever that animal ate, pretty much. Yeah.
Any sort of dyes to make it look fresher or appear fresher, any sort of like other preservatives that went into it, like you don't know. And so it's hard, but it's worth it because I at least feel better. I feel better about what I'm putting into my body and I at least know that I'm operating at least a little bit more efficiently with it. So
Man, when I look
yeah,
myself in the mirror, I feel a little bit better. Just the thought of like, man, I'm actually making progress. Feels good
yeah, yep.
for real. Is that all we got for our first episode or our pilot? You got something else you want to go over?
No, I think that should be good. Like I said, I got a lot of different ideas, but if there's any particular ones anybody would like to hear, I'll go down all the rabbit holes,
Yeah,
bring
for
all
sure.
the tea, all the information. Because that's the other thing is like all this information is out there. It is you can Google it, YouTube it, go and find different articles, go and find different papers, studies. the information is there, but it's also like the useful information they try to keep as buried as possible. And
Just like the news.
yeah, just like the news. So it's just
That's
you
more of
have
my cup of
to
tea.
you have to be willing to look for it. But once you start looking for it, like I said, it's everywhere. And it's like you said, I can't go back to how I used to eat. I can't look at food the same way, and I can't look at people walking through the grocery store the same way when they have all that shit in their cart.
You're like
So
20-year-old me after I voted for Barack Obama, and I was like, I can never go back to voting for anything like that again. I can't believe I got fooled that bad.
yeah. And it's bad too. And this is like I feel bad because I feel like the like our parents' generation got the most of it because I mean, like I said, all this stuff happened like after the 1950s started really taking off in like the 80s of just like new foods, processed foods, more chemicals. Like the more advanced everything gets, the more that they can replicate. I mean, now we have like those Beyond Burgers and Beyond
Cloned
Steaks,
beef.
and
Our beef
they
and
will
pigs are already
do
cloned.
yeah, they will do everything that they can to make it as cheaply as they can and just taste as similar because they think that, well, as long as it tastes the same, they won't care. But I mean, I I'll stare the cow in the fucking eyes if I have to. Like I want to make sure that it's
Give
real.
me that milk.
So, yeah. And I don't believe any of the fucking shit has to do with climate change either. Like my beef and your tofu like can go head to head every fucking day. But
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, so a lot of interesting stuff we got to talk about.
Hmm.
But
So how often are we going to try to make a episode?
I would say at least once a week. At
Okay.
least. I mean, if there's any things that come up in the news cycle of any sort of scandals or factories just suddenly bursting on out into flames or
We'll cover
egg
that.
shortages or orange juice having contaminants or any of that stuff, we can always do like a short little thing. But
Cool.
we're definitely I'll have a lot more information once we go into the deep dives of just
What are you thinking? I mean, this isn't for sure, but what are you thinking that we'll start with for the first actual episode where we're
oh
talking about
boy.
something specifically?
um
If you don't know, it's fine.
yeah, there's a lot of I mean, like there's a lot of good ones. They're all good ones in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
But I definitely I don't know. Don't know. I'll go over the list with you, but I'm thinking we can do like the start of the New Deal and World War II and
Yeah, that's a good idea.
how
Start from the beginning kind of and go through like the history
beginning,
of
yeah.
food first.
Yep,
And then we can
because
go
it's
deep
really
into like sugar, seed oils, soy, whatever preservatives that we
it's
want to
deep.
talk about, the dyes, like literally everything, yeah.
Yeah.
When
And
you
it's
told me they're
also weird
dyeing
that
the
it's
meat,
like
like that's crazy to me to make it look
yeah,
more like
dyeing the meat
red or
and that's
whatever or pink. Like
yeah, to look fresher and stuff. And it's like when you also look at food, when you look at food companies, it's just like there's only like 5 or 6 main companies that own all of the different food brands, all of the different products, all of the different labs that create all of this shit. So it's just like it's a very small club and we are not in it. And like I said, I would just if
same club they
anything,
used to beat you over the head with.
yeah, if
Hmm.
any takeaways come from any episodes, it's just grow your own food,
Question everything. Always.
question everything. Who's profiting off of you putting something in? If you don't feel good about putting it in your body, you shouldn't eat it, honestly. If your great great grandma wouldn't have ate that fucking
Oh,
Cheeto,
stop it.
would you have ate that Cheeto? That fucking shit glows. That's all I'm saying.
Glows like a
So
Fed.
glows like a Fed. You could use it as a fucking candle. There's so much chemicals in there. Seriously.
I hear you. I hear you.
But
That was the other thing too about how like things in nature that are light colored and bright colored are basically always poison. Like I saw today
yeah,
on Twitter, I was, because I live on Twitter because I'm a douche. But anyways, I was scrolling through Twitter and there was a horse and there's like a rainbow crossing and these two police horses would not go to the rainbow crossing because like the bright
really
colors, they were afraid of it, because things in
freak them out.
nature, are
Yeah.
bright like that. Yeah,
And
exactly.
brightly colored things
Your
are
example was the poison
poisonous.
dart frog, right?
Yeah,
Like
because that's
letting
letting
everyone
like
know, like, you can eat me if you want, but I'm gonna get you from the grave, motherfucker.
yeah,
Like,
pretty
yeah.
much like it's just the nature's way of telling you I'm toxic, and it's pretty interesting. It's just like when you go to Speedway, what color slushy do you get? So it's just like these things that are found in nature. It's just they're warning for a reason, and it's just like, damn, have we come so far away from like
People like bright
our
colors.
ancestors
It
that
catches the eye.
yeah, it does. And that's a problem with like how we have obese kids and stuff now, because all of these foods are made to like appeal to kids too. So it's just like they want you from as young as they can to as old as they can to just wreak havoc on your health and
Make
reap
them a
all of
bunch
the
of money.
benefits from it. Yeah.
And then they probably have
So
their kids eating the most whole diet ever. No cell phones, no
no
forced
cell phones, no Instagram,
medical
no
procedures,
seed oils, no nothing.
no jabs, no
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, crazy, huh?
But it is indeed.
All right, well, that'll be our
So
first pilot episode of the Poison Apple podcast, and we'll probably put it out on Wednesdays, I think, for now, but that's subject to change, and we'll be back next week with episode, actually, we'll call this episode 0. How about that?
yeah.
Episode 0.